you know what, I can't control that, and you know, listen, I've been around this league a long time, and you know, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, obviously. But at the same time, I still have a job to do, and that's to you know get ready for a good division opponent here in 2 weeks.
Welcome into Jags A.M. I'm Kainani Stevens. Brian Sexton and John Ogier are with me this morning. That's head coach Doug Peterson responding to questions about his coaching future as things go forward with this team. A absolutely terrible performance against the Lions. We're going to start out with big things, which is effortless. The worst loss in franchise history, Brian. There's rumors, there's reports about Doug Peterson going forward with this team. Nothing official at this point. When we talk about effort, we didn't see any of it in that game.
You know, do you remember when I made the case that the Bills' Monday night loss was the worst loss in franchise history?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not remembering that either. There's no argument. This is the most humbling, the most embarrassing, the most difficult loss for anyone to swallow. And the rumors that were swirling before, well, the Wolves are howling at the door right now. And it doesn't surprise Doug. He's been around this. And it doesn't surprise all the assistant coaches who have to deal with it. It just doesn't make it any easier, John, because the Lions, they ran a hook and ladder play. Those are at the end of the game, right? That's when you're trying to get back into the game. They were beating you 21-3, and it was the second quarter, and they did it because they said, we can do anything we want today. And that's what it felt like, that the Jaguars were hapless. And in all 30 years of covering this football team, they've been bad at times, but hapless is not a word I've ever used to describe them.
Yeah, I mean, they've had bad games, bad seasons. I know, Brian, your wife's in real estate, so you know about comps. It's hard to find a market comp for this. They scored every time they tried to score, the Lions did. And not only, it wasn't big plays early, it was, we're going to get 8 and 7 and 8. It looked like a JV team playing against a varsity team. Yeah. And that's not supposed to happen in the NFL. It was ridiculous. And anything more, but like, I was thinking about what we were going to say on the show, Brian, and it's hard because the performance spoke for itself. Yeah. Anything we say is sort of piling on. Well, it's obvious. You can't, I don't know that you can lose worse than that.
No.
The score can be worse, but I've never seen anything like it. So I'm not sure what else I'm going to say for a half hour, but we'll give it a whirl.
I've got one more thing I want to add to this, Kai, and that is you watch their offensive line. And they were always 4 yards past the line of scrimmage involved in the play. They play at a completely different level than we have seen the Jaguars play at in all of 2024. They are impressive to watch. I think I said last week, I think that the Lions are the best team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Well, I watched some of that Chiefs-Bills game yesterday. The Lions are the best team in the NFL.
It's not close.
Nope.
Let's go to our second big thing, which is 3 and out. Again, we're going to do our best effort to keep talking about this, John. I know you love it. We talked about this offense getting slow starts, but the last 2 weeks with Mac Jones at quarterback, you've seen what Trevor Lawrence has been able to do with this. I already thought what Trevor was doing was impressive, and now when you look at what they've done the last 2 weeks, you realize he was doing a lot for this offense.
Yeah, he's a starting quarterback. He's good. He's ascending. All the stuff we've talked about. And Mac's a backup, and there are certain throws, it appears, from the last 2 weeks that the defense doesn't have to respect downfield, and then when he does go downfield, the result has been interceptions. So I never really thought that there was a question. I mean, when Trevor was, quote, struggling, let's try Mac Jones. Trevor's the starting quarterback, yeah. And I guess for people outside the team, the statistics are so stark, the difference, that they realize it now. But it was never a question here.
Trevor is the starting quarterback. You have to help him. You have to build a better offensive line for him. You've got to be able to run the ball better for him to be as good as he wants to be. And you obviously have got to figure out something on defense. I mean, that's a long laundry list. 3 and out, again, it's become their personality, Kai, that when you need the offense to give the defense a break, just go and control the ball for a few minutes, they go 3 and out. After each of the Lions' first 2 touchdown drives, and there were 7 consecutive, which still boggles my mind, the offense goes 3 and out. Part of that is play calling. Part of it is execution. But the third part of it is it's become who this offense is. It wasn't good the last month, early in the first half of any of those games. But if Trevor Lawrence is in there, at least you think you have a chance. You didn't yesterday.
Brian, you talk about how the Lions make everything look easy. The Jaguars make everything look difficult. That's our final big thing today as we look at how difficult things were for the defense. Josh Hines-Allen talked after the game.
Today was not our day. Moving forward, man, I think we have a better message going tomorrow. Right now, everybody's lost for words, trying to figure out what to say, what's going on, what it is. Right now it's almost like point the finger, but instead of us getting to that point, we just need to not be emotional, wait till tomorrow, watch the tape, figure out what it is, and move forward from there, and then we can talk about what the heck we need to do better. But again, like I said earlier, today was not our day.
Yesterday was not their day, that's for sure, Brian. They talk about lost for words, trying to figure something out. We know things aren't working at this point, and I don't know if we have the words either, but we're going to try.
Listen, people want someone fired. They want someone cut. The problem with that is not starting, it's stopping. I mean, because you can point the finger of blame across so many different places that aren't working. The defensive line, the interior of the defensive line was on its back all day long. The corners, I mean, listen, that passing attack is outstanding, and the league is set up for the passing attack. Those corners were just where'd he go? Where'd who go? Same thing on offense. The offensive line couldn't move anybody off the ball on third down and short. The quarterback, I mean, that's the problem right now, is that the Jaguars lack something, John, that they can absolutely say, well, we can do this. We can always count on being able to throw the ball to Evan Ingram or create some room for Travis Etienne to find a cutback lane and gain 3 or 4 yards. You're just left with a pile of what is this?
Yeah, they did get the ball to BTJ yesterday, so okay.
That's a bright spot for the future.
Really, I'm not at all saying they shouldn't have got the ball to BTJ, but it's so hard to find. It's not even a silver lining. It's just okay, they did it. Look, I think Shad Khan has to be careful. This is such a rain of sadness or of criticism that he has to be careful. Let's not do anything based on that.
Right.
And not, this is why owners don't make quick, hey, I'm going to do this right now. So I get why there was nothing done last night after the game, post game. Every fan's writing, why haven't they been fired yet? He has to be measured, and he has to decide what's best long term. So our emotion is sort of what caused me to think that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, don't make emotional decisions. Be measured and make sure you do what's best for the franchise.
Well, you still have 6 games to play,
right?
I mean, if you start just throwing people out, you've got to be functional. And, John, it bears noting, you want your quarterback because you expect that Trevor Lawrence might be back in 2 weeks, and Brian Thomas Jr. and Tank Bigsby. You want some of these young players to make the most of the final 6 weeks, to come away with some development, some things that you can feel good about. I know that seems ridiculous after 52-6, but you got 6 more games in 7 weeks. If you just say, push the button, pull the ripcord, everyone's out, or at least key players are, you risk the development of some of these guys, at least not taking advantage of it.
Well said. Better than I said, Kai.
We appreciate Brian's words always.
Sure.
Stay with us here on Jags A.M. Brian's going to talk some more. We are going to talk some more. We'll all talk it out together. Stay with us. Jaguars fans, you can register your furry friend for the Jaguars official 4-legged fan club for pets presented by Forever Vets Animal Hospital. Your pet will receive access to exclusive merchandise, events, and sweepstakes throughout the 2024 season. Visit jaguars.com/promotion/4-legged fan club to sign up today. We welcome you back into Jags A.M. today. A very tough one to watch yesterday, so we're going to talk this all out. Maybe have a little therapy session here.
All right. Who gets to lay back on the couch?
I think we all might need a break at some point today. So let's talk this out, Brian. John and I got the pleasure of watching this in person. You got to watch this at home. We're not going to run through everything because I don't particularly want to watch it all again. But let's start with, I think this drive specifically was the second touchdown drive for the Lions. It showed a little bit of everything. And it showed me how well this team has been built. John, you audibly reacted when we saw this run from Montgomery off the top, I believe it was. And just, they could do whatever they wanted and in every aspect of the game.
Well, I write key plays for every game. And what struck me yesterday in writing about this, when the game was in the balance, Brian, there were no key plays.
No.
It was just
I wondered how you were going to do that
7,
this week.
8. It was just devastating drives. It's very rare to go the length of the field and then run the ball into the end zone inside the 10 just at will. And it's because usually the other team will stop you and force throws, force some creativity. Mm-hmm. This was just doing this.
Right.
I mean, this was just, I am better than you are. And really, that's the analysis of the game.
Yeah.
Everything else we're going to be talking about is sort of filling air, right? Because that was the difference so stark of this is a better, more physical team, and therefore they did what they wanted to do.
And then the Jaguars compounded it with, and we saw in that whole series, horrible tackling. I mean, Ronald Darby had a shot at form tackling, breaking down and taking Montgomery down for probably a 2-yard gain, and it turned out to be a 9-yard gain because he went in there with one arm out, right? I mean, if you haven't played football, you know you're not going to tackle an NFL running back with one arm. It's not going to happen.
Here's what also struck you, Brian. I mean, interrupt,
That's
but
right.
It was 52-6, and turnovers were not a factor.
No.
Yeah.
The Lions forced one turnover, and it was on the Jaguars it was on their own 2 or 3. There was no field position flip. It was just, we got the ball at the 25, and now we're going to go down and score.
Well, if I'm the head coach and I'm meeting with my defensive coordinator today, and I would be meeting with my defensive coordinator today, I'm looking at these drives. There was one drive, I think it was 54 yards, and every other one was 70 yards or longer, including 2 that were 90 yards or longer. It was just, they did anything they want. At one point, they ran the hook and ladder in the second quarter. It was as if they were laughing at you.
Let's take a look at that hook and ladder, why don't we?
I figured that was going to be on the list.
I mean, yeah, just misdirection plays, just doing whatever they wanted to do. I think it's 3rd or 4th touchdown. Hard to keep track at this point, but yeah, they're doing whatever they wanted, and that was not great to see. And for me, it was, we'd seen a lot of effort out of everybody for the last month or so, even with the dire situation that they were in, but we had seen them be in these games, the one-possession games. This was not even close to that, and it was clear from the jump that it wasn't going to be. I think we all had a little feeling going in. Obviously, the Lions are one of, if not the best team in the league. But to just see no resistance whatsoever, it was. I think obviously the team felt that too.
Yeah, and I think I don't think you go in planning to have it be that way. It struck you as a game where they went down and got the early field goal. Okay, well, here we go. And then the defense, it just felt like collectively realized on the first drive, oh, they're going to do this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere that 3% of you gets a little bit deflated, and that's all it takes in this league. So I don't believe NFL players quit, but I do believe that they can lose their will a bit. And it looked like it lost its will yesterday. That's just watching it, and I don't know how else you interpret what happened on the field yesterday.
Well, and I couldn't interpret it because I wasn't there, but I'll tell you this. Their offensive line, and we're going to stop talking about this game, I think, today. So let me hit this with a hammer as hard as I can. Their offensive line is so much more physical. They play right on the edge of the whistle. There is a nastiness that brings in the personality of Dan Campbell. And the Jaguars had no resistance whatsoever. I watched Devon Hamilton 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia play maybe his best game, not just this year, but of his career. He was so disruptive in the middle of the field. I thought that's a good sign. Yesterday, he was literally like a blocking sled and just pushed any which way, and not by an all-pro guard. Right? Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to just single him out, but it was just so obvious that a guy who had played so well 2 weeks ago didn't have the resistance in 2 weeks' time.
I think it's extra frustrating for fans. I dare to speak for them that to see the Lions put this together in the same amount of time that the Jaguars have been trying to rebuild themselves as well.
You're throwing a massive log on the fire there.
But it hurts extra when you see it because you're like, wow, they've had 3 years to do this, and look what they have built in that time. Look what they've drafted. Look the culture of that team, and you see it, and it works so well, and you just want it for yourself. And I think going forward, at least for us, we need to look at who we want and who we want to build around. effort, right? So
Right.
I'm watching this team blow out the Jaguars. Ventrell Miller diving to save this play that we're going to see here. Gibbs with that huge run. That's someone we talked about. I need to look for a silver lining. I'm looking at who I want to build with. Watching that game, it's so easy to give up on that. But to see someone put in effort like that.
He is terrific. I started making a list of the guys that I wanted to carry forward. And there were 10 that I was really excited about, which maybe more than the average listener, the viewer this morning, is thinking about. But there are some good players on this roster who have been lost in the wash of a season that is just absolutely gone. But Ventrell Miller runs and hits and makes plays. I mean, if he doesn't dive, this is a touchdown. If he doesn't get him off his feet, Jahmyr Gibbs scores on that play. They ended up scoring anyway, but Ventrell Miller is a terrific football player.
And for me, that's the focus. That's someone you want on your team. That's someone, he would thrive on a Dan Campbell team. He is someone that is that same sort of energy, and that's what you need.
Yeah. Listen, this football team needs more
of that.
Yeah.
A lot more.
I was trying to think of the right way to say it.
Just more of that. All right, we're not going to watch any more of this because I don't think anybody is going to enjoy that. But we are going to come back after this break, talk about our hot takes and what we think going forward. Welcome back to Jags A.M. brought to you by Firehouse Subs. Check out their new hot sauce bar that's been brought back. And of course, Firehouse Subs also bringing you your hot takes today. I don't know how hot they're going to be, but we tried to be creative for you, at least to give you some sort of entertainment. So, Brian, what is your hot take?
Listen, mine came up in an emotional moment. Because it's important to note that the last 3 weeks, right, against the Packers, Eagles, and Vikings, I wouldn't have said this because it looked like the Jaguars were just not as good as those teams, and they lost close games. But yesterday, I felt as if the Jaguars didn't belong on the same field with the Lions, and clearly the score would indicate that they do not. Now, if Trevor plays, maybe you're better than 52-6. But what is it, 52-24? Mm-hmm. If this was a Premier League, the Jaguars would be in danger of relegation because yesterday it just looked like they were playing against, what is it, Manchester United or Man City? Yeah. I mean, the best of the best. And they were not up to the challenge whatsoever. The Jaguars are lucky that the NFL doesn't have a second tier.
Yeah, and they relegate the last 3 teams, and right now this is the last team.
Yeah.
So I expect that could change, but right now they're there. Okay, I wasn't very creative, but my hot take was it's as bad as it gets. I mean, it's.
I said that last week.
I was just going to say, Brian went with it last week.
And I was wrong,
you
obviously.
were wrong,
Yeah. But
John is
my
right.
point is, you can't get beat worse than this in the NFL. They scored every time they tried to score. And then you had a 59-yard field goal, which I credit to Cam Little. He hit it, but one of your points, you needed a franchise record-long field goal. So I'm not even in the mood to hammer it anymore. Yeah. It was a ridiculously bad performance. And, I'm not sure where you go from here.
Well, here's where we could both be wrong, and it could be worse, is you don't get Trevor Lawrence back. And against the softer part of your schedule, right? I mean, the Jets and the Titans and the Raiders, these are teams that are in the same situation as you are. You don't find a way to climb out of that. So it could theoretically still not be good.
And then that would be third number 1 pick in 5 years. All right. Well, mine is a little bit different. It's not necessarily a hot take. It's more of a shout out to social media. I'm going to laugh to keep from crying. I just want to thank Jaguars Twitter because you are the funniest fan base I've ever been around. You have a sense of self-deprecating humor that I very much enjoy. Thank you for the memes. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for keeping this light because it's not light and it stinks right now. And I'm really thankful. So if you haven't, go find something funny to laugh about today because that game was not good.
Yeah. I wanted to watch more football last night. I just turned it off. I guess it was a great game in the Cincinnati LA Chargers game, and I just couldn't even bear to watch it. So I think I'm going to avoid football this week.
It's the bye week, so that would be a good week to do that. Stay with us here. We'll talk to you about what's coming up before the bye week kicks in. Jags fans, if you want customized Jaguars furniture for your home, check out zipchair.com to browse all the customizable options. Zipchair is furniture for fans. Also, Jags A.M. brought to you by Magellan. Move the freight, move the freight. Magellan Transport voted the coolest office space in Jacksonville. You can apply online at magellanlogistics.com.
At the end of the day, it's a reality of this business. Obviously, it's not something anybody wishes for. You know, you got so much love for everybody in this locker room and on this team. It's not something you wish for, but it's the reality. You know, we're not winning, and so, you know, it is what it is.
Devin Lloyd talking about changes. I imagine we will see some changes going forward at some point with this team because things are not working right now. So I don't know when that's going to be. It's a bye week, guys. We'll have a break this weekend.
Yeah.
I think that's needed.
Yeah. Listen, the Wolves start howling at the door, and you can't get them to leave until you win, and that means you don't have another shot until the Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Right.
And there is a discontentment amongst the fan base. You mentioned them on social media that will just keep ratcheting up the pressure. And the owner can't be happy with this anyway, so it just makes it feel as if something's coming, but don't have any idea of when.
Yeah, we're there again. That's what it is.
We are. We'll hear from head coach a little bit later, hear from the locker room. We will be back on Wednesday with you. If you want to hear some more, have some more therapy, happy hour tonight. Check that out with Pete and Tony. I'm sure they will have a lot to say. If not, we'll see you on Wednesday.